I never thought I'd be the guy hiding in his own garage at 2 a.m., but here I was, crouched behind my Tesla like some kind of burglar in my own home. My hands were shaking as I stared at the red Mustang parked in my driveway, a car I recognized all too well. It belonged to Derek, my wife's ex-boyfriend, and apparently her new personal trainer. I was supposed to be in Chicago until tomorrow, closing the biggest deal of my career. $8 million for my software company. Money that would set Lisa and me up for life. But the client moved our meeting up, and I caught the red-eye home, excited to surprise my wife with the news that we were officially millionaires. Instead, I got the surprise of my life. The bedroom light was on upstairs, and through the sheer curtains, I could see two silhouettes moving in ways that made my stomach drop to the floor. 6 years of marriage, and this is how I find out my wife has been cheating on me. But what I heard next through the cracked window made my blood run cold. Once I get half of his money, we can finally start our fitness empire together. Lisa's voice drifted down to where I was hiding. My lawyer says it's a slam dunk case. Community property state, baby. Derek's laugh was like a knife twisting in my chest. 8 million divided by 2. Not bad for a few months of work. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just an affair. This was a calculated plan to destroy my life and steal everything I'd worked for. My wife didn't just want another man. She wanted half of everything I owned, and she was willing to sleep with her ex to get it. But Lisa had no idea that her husband was about to become her worst nightmare. Let me back up and tell you how I got to this point, hiding in my own garage like a criminal while my wife planned to rob me blind. My name is Mike Harrison, and up until that night, I thought I was living the American dream. At 35, I had built a software company from scratch in my garage. Yeah, I know, classic Silicon Valley cliche, and turned it into an 8-figure business. We specialized in cybersecurity solutions for small businesses, and after 6 years of 18-hour days and living off ramen noodles, I'd finally made it. But success means nothing if you don't have someone to share it with, right? And that's what I thought when I married Lisa 6 years ago. She was 22 then, a part-time model and Instagram influencer with stunning blonde hair, green eyes, and a smile that could stop traffic. I was just a broke programmer with big dreams and a beat-up Honda Civic. Looking back, I should have questioned why someone like her would be interested in someone like me. We met at a coffee shop in downtown Austin. I was working on my laptop, probably debugging code for the 100th time that day, when she sat down at the table next to mine. Her phone had died, and she asked if she could borrow my charger. One thing led to another, and we ended up talking for 3 hours. She seemed genuinely interested in my work, asking questions about programming and my business plans. I was smitten. Lisa told me she was tired of dating guys who only cared about her looks. She wanted someone with ambition, someone who was building something meaningful. I ate it up like a starving man at a buffet. Here was this gorgeous woman who saw past my awkward programmer exterior and believed in my vision. We were married 18 months later in a small ceremony that I paid for with my credit cards. The early years were tough financially, but Lisa seemed supportive. She moved into my tiny apartment and said she didn't mind the secondhand furniture and generic brand groceries. She even helped with the business sometimes, managing my social media accounts and helping me network at tech events. I thought we were a team, but things started changing as my company grew. The first big contract came in year 3, a 6-figure deal with a regional bank chain. Suddenly, Lisa wanted to move to a better apartment. Then came the luxury car lease, the designer clothes, the expensive dinners. She said we needed to look successful to be successful. I went along with it because I loved her, and honestly, I was proud to be able to give her nice things. By year 4, we had moved into a $2 million house in the hills overlooking the city. Lisa had quit her part-time modeling to focus on being a lifestyle influencer. Her Instagram following had grown to over 200,000 people who followed her perfectly curated life of yoga retreats, designer handbags, and motivational quotes about living your best life. The irony wasn't lost on me that her best life was funded entirely by my worst years of stress and sleepless nights. Our relationship had become transactional without me realizing it. Lisa managed our social calendar, making sure we were seen at the right events with the right people. She handled the house, the decorating, the entertaining. In return, I handled everything financial. We had separate bank accounts. Her idea, she said, it was healthier for our relationship. But I paid for everything. The mortgage, the cars, her shopping sprees, her business expenses, everything. The intimacy had started declining about 2 years ago. Lisa always had excuses. She was tired from a photo shoot, stressed about a brand partnership, not feeling well. Our conversations became surface-level discussions about her latest sponsored post or my work deadlines. We were living like roommates who occasionally attended events together. Then Derek came back into the picture. Derek Martinez was Lisa's high school boyfriend, the guy she dated before she met me. He was everything I wasn't, tall, muscular, charming in that effortless way that comes naturally to some people. He'd been a college football player who never quite made it to the pros and had bounced around different cities trying to make it as a personal trainer and fitness influencer. Lisa mentioned he had moved back to Austin about 6 months ago and had started his own fitness coaching business. She seemed excited about it, said it was inspiring to see someone chase their dreams. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was buried in negotiations for the sale of my company, working 16-hour days trying to close the biggest deal of my life. That's when Lisa announced she wanted to get serious about fitness. She had gained a few pounds over the years, though she still looked amazing to me, and said she wanted to get back to her modeling weight. She found a personal trainer who specialized in working with influencers and models. Can you guess who it was? Derek offered her a friends and family discount and would come to our house 3 times a week for private sessions. Lisa set up a home gym in our garage, complete with professional lighting for her workout videos. She said it was a business expense, content creation for her fitness transformation journey. I should have seen the signs. The way she started dressing differently, buying expensive workout clothes that looked more like lingerie. How she suddenly became obsessed with her appearance again, spending hours getting ready for her training sessions. The way she'd disappear into the garage for 2 or 3 hours at a time, claiming they were working on complex routines. But I was distracted, focused on the sale that would change our lives forever. I thought I was building our future. I had no idea my wife was planning to steal half of it and run off with her ex-boyfriend. That night in the garage, everything finally made sense. The warning signs had been there for months, but I was too blind to see them. Or maybe I just didn't want to see them. When you're building something from nothing, you tend to focus on the future and ignore what's happening right in front of you. Derek's first training session with Lisa was on a Tuesday in March. I remember because I was in back-to-back investor meetings all day, trying to secure the final round of funding before the acquisition talks began. Lisa had been complaining for weeks about feeling out of shape and losing her confidence for her Instagram content. She said her engagement rates were dropping because she wasn't posting enough fitness content. "Babe, I found the perfect trainer," she announced over dinner that night, practically glowing with excitement. "Derek Martinez, remember I told you about him? He's back in town and he's amazing. He's worked with some really big influencers in LA. I looked up from my laptop where I was reviewing contracts. Derek, your ex-boyfriend Derek? Oh my God, Mike, that was like 15 years ago. We're completely different people now." She rolled her eyes in that way that made me feel like I was being unreasonable. "He's a professional trainer. This is business." I should have said no right then. But Lisa had this way of making me feel like the bad guy whenever I questioned her decisions. She'd get this hurt look in her eyes and say things like, "I thought you wanted me to be happy," or "Don't you trust me?" So I did what I always did. I gave in. The training sessions started innocently enough. Derek would arrive at 10 a.m. sharp, always in his tight black workout gear that showed off his perfectly sculpted physique. He was polite to me on the rare occasions our paths crossed, giving me that firm handshake and calling me bro in a way that somehow felt both friendly and condescending. Lisa transformed our garage into a professional-grade gym. She spent $15,000 on equipment, squat racks, Olympic weights, a cable machine, professional lighting for filming. "It's an investment in my brand," she explained when I saw the credit card statement. "The content I'll create will pay for itself in sponsorship deals." The sessions were supposed to be 1 hour, 3 times a week, but they kept getting longer. First, it was 90 minutes because they were working on complex routines, then 2 hours because they were filming multiple workout videos. Eventually, it became a regular 3-hour block every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Lisa's entire personality started shifting. She became obsessed with her appearance in a way I hadn't seen since her modeling days. She'd spend an hour getting ready for her training sessions. Full makeup, hairstyled perfectly, wearing these expensive workout sets that cost more than most people's monthly rent. When I asked why she needed to look like she was going to a photo shoot just to work out, she snapped at me. "This is my job, Mike. I need to look professional. You wouldn't understand because you work in tech, where nobody cares what you look like." Our conversations became increasingly one-sided. Every dinner was filled with stories about Derek's training philosophy, his business advice, his insights about the fitness industry. "Derek says this," and "Derek thinks that" became her favorite phrases. Meanwhile, she showed zero interest in my work, even though I was in the middle of the biggest deal of my career. The physical changes in Lisa were undeniable, but they weren't what I expected. Yes, she was getting more toned, but there was something else. She had this glow about her, this energy that I hadn't seen in years. She was happier, more confident, more alive. At first, I thought it was just the endorphins from working out. Now I realize it was the excitement of having an affair. Our intimacy, which had already been declining, virtually disappeared. Lisa always had an excuse. She was sore from training, too tired, had an early morning session. When I tried to initiate anything, she'd push me away and say she needed to focus on her fitness goals and didn't want to mess up her routine. But the most telling change was her sudden interest in our finances. Lisa had never cared about money beyond spending it. She left all the financial decisions to me and was happy to swipe her credit card without thinking about budgets or investments. But suddenly, she was asking detailed questions about the company sale. "How much are we getting exactly? she asked one night, trying to sound casual while scrolling through her phone. It's not finalized yet, but we're looking at around 8 million, I replied, not looking up from my laptop. And that's all ours? Like, we don't owe anything to investors or partners? I found her sudden interest strange, but figured she was just excited about our future. Most of it, yeah. After taxes and paying back some early investors, we'll probably clear about 6 million. She nodded thoughtfully, then went back to her phone. I later realized she was probably texting Derek with updates. The final red flag should have been when Lisa suggested I take more business trips. She'd never encouraged my travel before. In fact, she used to complain about being alone. But suddenly, she was pushing me to attend every conference, every investor meeting, every networking event. You should really go to that cybersecurity summit in Chicago, she said, showing me an event invitation I'd been ignoring. It could be great for post-acquisition opportunities. I wasn't planning on it. The timing is terrible with everything going on. Come on, babe. You work so hard. You deserve to celebrate your success. Plus, I'll be fine here. I've got my training sessions to keep me busy. That should have been the moment I realized what was happening. My wife was actively trying to get me out of town so she could spend more time with her trainer. But I was so focused on closing the deal that would secure our future, I completely missed the fact that she was planning to steal half of it and run. The night I came home early from Chicago, everything finally clicked into place. The Chicago trip was supposed to be my victory lap. After 6 years of grinding, I was finally going to sign the papers that would make me a multimillionaire. But as I sat in that hotel room the night before the final meeting, something felt wrong. Not about the deal, that was solid. Something about home. I couldn't shake the feeling that Lisa was hiding something from me. It started with small things that individually seemed innocent, but together painted a disturbing picture. Like how she'd suddenly become protective of her phone, taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. Or how she'd started working out at weird hours. Sometimes I'd hear the garage door opening at 6 a.m. or 10 p.m. for solo sessions. The first major incident happened 3 weeks before my Chicago trip. We were having dinner with my business partner Jake and his wife Sarah when Lisa's phone buzzed on the table. The screen lit up with a text preview that made my blood run cold. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Wear the red set. Lisa grabbed her phone so fast she knocked over her wine glass. Sorry, just a brand partnership thing, she said, laughing nervously as she dabbed at the red stain spreading across the white tablecloth. But I saw the sender's name before she could hide it. Derek. What kind of brand partnership involves red sets? I asked later that night, trying to keep my voice casual. Lisa was already in bed, scrolling through Instagram with her back to me. It's for a workout clothing line. They want me to wear specific colors for the photo shoot. God, Mike, you're so paranoid lately. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. So I pushed down the nagging doubt and focused on my work. The second incident was worse. I came home early from a client meeting to find Derek's car in our driveway at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, a day when Lisa wasn't supposed to have training. I walked into the house, calling her name, but got no response. The garage was silent, but I could hear music coming from our bedroom upstairs. I climbed the stairs quietly, my heart pounding for reasons I couldn't explain. The bedroom door was cracked open, and I could see Lisa inside, but she wasn't alone. Derek was there too, standing close to her, his hand on her lower back as he adjusted her form for some kind of stretching exercise. They were both breathing heavily, and Lisa was wearing one of those barely there workout sets that left nothing to the imagination. Derek's hands lingered on her body longer than any professional trainers should, and the way Lisa was looking at him, I'd never seen her look at me like that. I cleared my throat loudly, and they jumped apart like teenagers caught by their parents. Hey, babe, Lisa said, her voice pitched higher than normal. You're home early. Derek was just showing me some recovery stretches for my back. Derek nodded, not quite meeting my eyes. Yeah, man. Lisa mentioned she was having some tightness after yesterday's session. Just wanted to make sure she doesn't get injured. I stood there for a moment, looking between them. Lisa's face was flushed, her hair was messy, and there was something in the air, a tension that had nothing to do with exercise. In our bedroom? I asked. The lighting is better up here for filming, Lisa said quickly. You know how important good lighting is for content. But I didn't see any cameras or phones set up for recording. Just my wife and her trainer alone in our bedroom, touching each other in ways that made my stomach turn. That night, I tried to talk to Lisa about boundaries. I'm not comfortable with Derek being in our bedroom, I said as we got ready for bed. Lisa exploded. Are you serious right now? You think I'm cheating on you with my trainer? That's such a cliche, Mike. I can't believe you don't trust me. She launched into a 20-minute rant about how hard she was working on her fitness goals, how Derek was helping her build her brand, how I was being controlling and jealous. By the end of it, I felt like the bad guy for even bringing it up. I'm sorry, I said, because that's what I always did. I trust you. I'm just stressed about the acquisition. But I didn't trust her. Not anymore. The third incident happened just days before my Chicago trip. I was working late at my home office when I heard Lisa's phone ringing in the kitchen. She was in the shower, so I went to check if it was important. The caller ID said Derek, and it was 11 p.m. I answered without thinking. Hello? There was a pause, then Derek's voice, low and intimate. Hey, baby, I was just thinking about this afternoon. When can we... This is Mike, I said, my voice deadly calm. Another pause, longer this time. Oh, hey, Mike, I was just calling about Lisa's nutrition plan for tomorrow's session at 11 p.m. Yeah, I keep weird hours, trainer life, you know. Can you tell Lisa I called? He hung up before I could respond. When Lisa got out of the shower, I told her Derek had called about her nutrition plan. She didn't even blink. Oh, good. I've been waiting to hear back from him about my meal prep schedule, she said, toweling off her hair like it was the most normal thing in the world. But I had heard the way Derek said, baby. I had heard the intimacy in his voice, the assumption that he was talking to my wife, and I had seen how easily Lisa lied about it. That's when I started paying closer attention. I noticed that Lisa's training sessions always seemed to coincide with my important meetings. When I had investor calls, she had extra long workouts. When I had client presentations, Derek would mysteriously need to discuss her progress over dinner. I started checking our credit card statements more carefully. Lisa had been spending money at hotels during the day, expensive ones downtown. When I asked about it, she said she was meeting with potential sponsors for lunch meetings, but the charges were for rooms, not restaurants. I found receipts for lingerie purchases. Not the workout clothes she claimed to be buying for her fitness content, but actual lingerie. Expensive, sexy stuff that I'd never seen her wear. When I asked about it, she said it was for a confidence photo shoot that never seemed to happen. The final straw came 2 days before my Chicago trip. I was supposed to be at a client dinner, but the meeting got canceled at the last minute. Instead of calling Lisa to let her know I'd be home early, I decided to surprise her. I pulled into our driveway at 8 p.m. to find Derek's car parked in our garage, in my spot. The house was dark except for our bedroom window, which was glowing with candlelight. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, trying to process what I was seeing. My wife was in our bedroom with another man, by candlelight, while I was supposed to be across town at a business dinner. I could have confronted them right then. I could have stormed into the house and demanded an explanation, but something held me back. Maybe it was cowardice, or maybe it was the businessman in me recognizing that I needed more information before making my move. Instead, I drove around the block and called Lisa's phone. Hey, babe, she answered, slightly breathless. How's your dinner going? It's good, I lied. Just wanted to hear your voice. What are you up to? Oh, just having a quiet night in, watching Netflix, doing some skincare, boring wife stuff. I could hear music in the background, soft, romantic music, not the kind you listen to while doing skincare. Well, I should let you get back to your relaxing evening, I said. I love you. Love you too, babe. Have fun with your clients. I hung up and sat in my car, staring at my phone. My wife had just lied to my face while another man was in our bedroom. There was no coming back from this. That's when I decided to go to Chicago early and let Lisa think she had the house to herself for an extra day. I wanted to see what she would do when she thought I was safely out of town. What I discovered when I came home early would change everything. The flight from Chicago landed at 11:47 p.m., 3 hours earlier than Lisa expected. I had told her my red-eye wouldn't get in until 3 a.m., giving me the perfect window to see what my wife did when she thought she had complete freedom. The Uber ride home felt like the longest 40 minutes of my life. My hands were shaking as I stared out the window at the dark Austin streets, running through every possible scenario in my head. Part of me hoped I was wrong, that I'd come home to find Lisa asleep in our bed, alone. But deep down, I knew what I was going to find. As we turned onto my street, I saw Derek's red Mustang parked boldly in my driveway like he owned the place. Not hidden around the corner or parked discreetly down the street, right there in my spot, announcing his presence to anyone who cared to look. Actually, can you drop me off at the corner? I told the driver. I want to walk the rest of the way. I needed time to think, to plan my next move. This wasn't just about catching them in the act anymore. This was about protecting myself and everything I'd worked for. I crept up to my own house like a burglar, staying in the shadows of the landscaping Lisa had spent thousands of dollars perfecting. The downstairs was dark, but our bedroom window glowed with warm light. I could see shadows moving behind the sheer curtains, 2 figures intertwined in ways that made my stomach clench with rage and betrayal. But I forced myself to stay calm. I needed evidence. I needed to hear what they were saying. I made my way around to the side of the house, where the master bedroom window was partially open to let in the cool night air. Hidden behind the large oak tree we'd planted for our 3rd anniversary, I could hear everything. Lisa's voice drifted down to me, breathless and satisfied in a way I hadn't heard in years. God, I've missed this. I've missed you. Derek's deep laugh made my fists clench. You don't have to miss me anymore, baby. After tomorrow, we'll have all the time in the world. I can't believe it's finally happening, Lisa said. 6 years of pretending to be the perfect tech wife, and it's finally paying off. My blood turned to ice. Pretending. 6 years of our marriage had been pretending. Your lawyer thinks it's a sure thing? Derek asked. Are you kidding? $8 million, and I'm entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage. Texas is a community property state, baby. Even if Mike tries to fight it, I'll walk away with at least $3 million. Maybe 4 if I play my cards right. I pulled out my phone and started recording, my hands trembling as I held it up toward the window. Derek's voice was clearer now, probably closer to the window. And he has no idea about us? Lisa laughed, and the sound was like glass breaking in my chest. Mike is clueless. He's so obsessed with his precious company that he doesn't notice anything else. I could probably bring you to his investor meetings, and he wouldn't realize you weren't supposed to be there. What about when you file for divorce? Won't he get suspicious about the timing? That's the beauty of it, Lisa said, and I could hear the smugness in her voice. I've been documenting everything for months. His long work hours, his business trips, how he's emotionally unavailable and prioritizes work over our marriage. My lawyer says we can paint him as a workaholic who neglected his wife. Classic grounds for divorce, and it makes me look sympathetic. I had to bite my tongue to keep from screaming. She was going to destroy my reputation along with my bank account. Derek's voice dropped lower, more intimate. And after the divorce is final, we take the money and start our fitness empire, just like we planned. Maybe move to California, get a place in Malibu. I'm thinking we could start with a high-end personal training studio, then expand into online coaching, maybe a supplement line. Using your ex-husband's money to fund our business, Derek said, and I could hear the satisfaction in his voice. I have to admit, it's pretty perfect. He deserves it, Lisa said, her voice turning cold. Do you know how boring it's been, pretending to care about software and cybersecurity for 6 years, sitting through dinner parties with his nerdy friends, acting interested in his stupid company? I earned this money. My vision blurred with rage. She had earned it? I had built that company from nothing, working 18-hour days, sacrificing my health and my social life. I had given her everything she wanted, and she thought she had earned the right to steal it from me. When are you going to tell him? Derek asked. I'm thinking next week, after he's had time to celebrate the sale. Let him think he's won, then pull the rug out from under him. My lawyer says the shock factor works in our favor, makes him more likely to settle quickly instead of fighting it out in court. You're evil, Derek said, but he was laughing. I love it. I learned from the best, Lisa replied. Remember how we used to plan to get back at all those rich kids in high school? Well, now I married one of them, and we're finally getting our revenge. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. This wasn't just about money or even about their affair. This was about some twisted revenge fantasy they'd been harboring since high school. I wasn't just Lisa's husband. I was their target, their mark, their ticket to the life they thought they deserved. How long have you been planning this? Derek asked, echoing my own thoughts. Since the day I met him, Lisa said without hesitation. I saw this awkward programmer in that coffee shop, and I could tell he was going to be successful. He had that hungry look, like he was going to do whatever it took to make it. I knew if I played my cards right, I could ride his success all the way to the bank. My legs almost gave out. Our entire relationship had been a lie from day one. Every smile, every kiss, every time she said she loved me. It had all been an act. The coffee shop thing was genius, Derek continued, asking to borrow his charger, pretending to be interested in his work. I spent hours researching programming and startups before I approached him, Lisa said proudly. I knew exactly what to say to make him think I was different from other girls. Poor Mike thought he'd found someone who loved him for his mind instead of his money. Little did he know I was just playing the long game. I had heard enough, more than enough, but they weren't finished destroying what was left of my heart. What if he doesn't go for the settlement? Derek asked. What if he wants to fight? Then we'll destroy him, Lisa said, her voice turning vicious. I've got 6 years of dirt on him. His obsessive work habits, his social awkwardness, his complete inability to satisfy me in bed. I'll make him look like a pathetic loser who drove his wife into another man's arms. And if that doesn't work, I've been documenting his drinking habits. A glass of wine with dinner becomes alcohol dependency. His stress about the company becomes anger management issues. Trust me, by the time I'm done with him, no judge will want to give him more than half. They were planning to systematically destroy my reputation, my character, and my life. This wasn't just theft. It was character assassination. I can't wait to see his face when you tell him, Derek said. Oh, I'm going to enjoy every second of it, Lisa replied. 6 years of pretending to be impressed by his boring stories and his pathetic attempts at romance. 6 years of faking orgasms and acting like I cared about his dreams. It's going to feel so good to finally tell him what I really think of him. That's when something inside me snapped. Not into rage, but into cold, calculating fury. They wanted to play games. They wanted to destroy me. Fine. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated exactly how smart and resourceful the pathetic loser they were planning to rob actually was. I had everything I needed recorded on my phone. Their entire plan, their motivations, their timeline, all of it captured in their own words. But more importantly, I now knew exactly what kind of people I was dealing with. Lisa wasn't just cheating on me. She was a predator who had targeted me from the beginning, and Derek was her accomplice in a long-term con game. They thought they were so clever, so much smarter than the awkward tech guy they were planning to fleece. But they had forgotten one important detail. I hadn't built an $8 million company by being stupid or naive. I had built it by being strategic, by thinking 3 steps ahead of my competition, and by never backing down from a fight. As I crept back to my car, my mind was already working on a plan. They wanted to take me for everything I was worth. They wanted to destroy my life and reputation. Let them try. But this game was far from over, and they had no idea who they were really dealing with. The war was just beginning, and I intended to win. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my car at a 24-hour diner 3 miles from my house, drinking black coffee and planning my counterattack. The recording on my phone was damning, but I needed more than just audio evidence. I needed a strategy that would protect my assets and expose their scheme before they could execute it. My first call was to Marcus Chen, the best private investigator in Austin and a former client whose cybersecurity I'd handled 2 years earlier. At 6 a.m., I was sitting in his office, playing him the recording while he took notes. "Jesus, Mike," Marcus said, shaking his head. "How long do you think this has been going on? Based on what I heard last night, since the day I met her, 6 years of my life have been a complete lie?" Marcus leaned back in his chair. "The good news is, you've got them dead to rights on the affair and the premeditated fraud. The bad news is you're right about Texas being a community property state. Even with this evidence, she's still entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage." "What if the assets weren't acquired during the marriage?" I asked. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my laptop and showed him the corporate structure I'd been working on all night. "What if I never actually owned the company? What if it was always owned by a trust established before my marriage? Mike, you can't just retroactively change ownership structures. That's fraud." "Not retroactively," I said, clicking through the documents I'd been preparing. "I'm talking about correcting a clerical error. See, when I incorporated the company 6 years ago, I meant to assign ownership to the Harrison Family Trust, a trust my father established before he died. But due to a paperwork error, it was registered under my personal name instead." Marcus stared at me. "That's actually brilliant. But you'd need documentation proving the trust existed before your marriage." I smiled for the first time in hours. My father was paranoid about estate planning. He established the trust when I was 25, 3 years before I met Lisa. I've got all the original paperwork. And the company sale goes to the trust, not to me personally. As the trustee, I manage the assets, but I don't technically own them. Lisa can't claim half of something that was never mine to begin with. Marcus whistled low. "That's either genius or completely illegal. You better get the best lawyer in Texas to make sure this holds up." My second call was to Sarah Martinez, the most ruthless divorce attorney in Austin. By 10 a.m., I was in her office, playing the recording and explaining my situation. "Your wife is an idiot," Sarah said bluntly after hearing the evidence. "Planning to commit fraud and then discussing it where you could record them? Amateur hour? Can we use this to protect my assets?" "Oh, we can do better than that," Sarah said with a predatory smile. "Texas has alienation of affection laws. Your wife's boyfriend could be liable for damages for destroying your marriage. Plus, if we can prove this was a premeditated scheme to defraud you, we might be able to get her charged criminally." "I want to be smart about this," I said. "I don't want to just react emotionally." "Good. Here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to let them make the first move. Let your wife file for divorce and make her demands. That way, we can prove intent to defraud. Second, we're going to have Marcus document everything, every meeting, every hotel room, every lie. Third, we're going to restructure your assets legally and properly. And then we're going to destroy them." I spent the next 3 days playing the role of the oblivious husband. I came home from my business trip, acting excited about the company sale, sharing details about our newfound wealth with Lisa, watching her eyes light up with greed as she calculated her share. $8 million, I said over dinner that first night back. "Can you believe it? We're actually millionaires now." "That's amazing, babe," Lisa said, leaning over to kiss my cheek. "You've worked so hard for this. You deserve it." The performance was Oscar-worthy. She was already planning how to spend my money while pretending to celebrate my success. Meanwhile, Marcus was working around the clock. He documented Lisa and Derek's affair with photos, hotel receipts, and credit card records. He discovered that Derek had done this before, targeting wealthy women, seducing them, and helping them divorce their husbands for financial gain. Lisa wasn't his first victim. She was his business model. The legal restructuring took 2 weeks. Sarah worked with estate planning attorneys to properly establish the trust structure and transfer the company assets. Everything was done by the book, with proper documentation and legal precedent. On a Thursday morning, exactly 3 weeks after I discovered their plan, Lisa made her move. I was in my home office when she knocked on the door, looking nervous but determined. "Mike, we need to talk," she said, sitting down across from my desk. "Sure, what's up?" She took a deep breath. "I'm not happy in our marriage. I haven't been for a long time. I think we should get a divorce." I looked up from my computer, feigning shock. "What? Lisa, where is this coming from? Is this about the money? Are you worried about how wealth will change us?" "No, it's not about money," she lied smoothly. "It's about us. We've grown apart. We want different things. I think it's better if we end this amicably." "I don't understand. Can we try counseling? Can we work on this?" "I've already spoken to a lawyer," she said, and I could see the excitement she was trying to hide. "I think a clean break is best for both of us." "A lawyer? Lisa, this seems so sudden. What about our life together? What about our future?" "I'll be fair," she said, pulling out a folder. "I'm only asking for half of the marital assets. It's what I'm entitled to under Texas law." I took the paper she handed me, scanning the demands. "Half of everything. The house, the cars, the investments, and yes, half of the $8 million from the company sale. This is $4 million, Lisa. I know it seems like a lot, but I helped build this life too. I supported you while you built your company. I deserve to be compensated for that." I stared at her, this woman I'd loved for 6 years, who was now trying to rob me blind while pretending it was fair. "I need time to think about this," I said finally. "Of course. Take all the time you need, but Mike, I hope we can handle this like adults." As she left my office, I opened my laptop and sent a single text to Sarah Martinez. She took the bait. It's time. The real game was about to begin. Sitting in Sarah's office the morning after Lisa served me with divorce papers, I found myself reflecting on how I'd gotten to this point. How does a successful, intelligent man end up married to a woman who's been planning to rob him since the day they met? The answer was uncomfortable but necessary. I had ignored every red flag because I was desperate to be loved. "You know what your biggest mistake was?" Sarah asked as we reviewed Lisa's demands. "You confused being wanted with being loved." She was right. Lisa had never loved me. She had wanted me. She wanted my potential, my earning capacity, my ability to provide her with the lifestyle she craved. But love? Real love doesn't come with a 6-year business plan attached. Looking back, the signs were everywhere. Lisa had never shown genuine interest in who I was as a person. She asked about my work, but only in terms of how successful it would make us. She supported my long hours, but only because they meant bigger profits. She encouraged my ambitions, but only because they served her agenda. Real love would have meant wanting to spend time with me, not pushing me to work more. Real love would have meant being interested in my thoughts and feelings, not just my bank account. Real love would have meant building a life together, not plotting to steal half of mine. The hardest part, I told Sarah, is realizing that I was never actually married. I was just funding someone else's lifestyle while she waited for the right moment to cash out. But the betrayal taught me something crucial about myself. I had been so focused on being successful that I'd forgotten to be smart about protecting that success. I'd built an $8 million company, but couldn't see through a woman who was playing a character designed specifically to manipulate me. The business world had taught me to do due diligence on every investment, every partnership, every major decision. But when it came to the most important partnership of my life, marriage, I'd done no research at all. I'd taken Lisa at face value because I wanted to believe that someone could love me for who I was, not what I could provide. "You know what the difference is between successful people and everyone else?" Marcus asked me during one of our strategy sessions. "Successful people learn from their mistakes instead of just suffering from them." He was right. This experience was teaching me lessons that no business school could provide. First, I learned that trust has to be earned, not given freely. I had trusted Lisa completely because I wanted to, not because she had demonstrated that she deserved it. Real trust is built through consistent actions over time, not through words and promises. Second, I learned that financial success makes you a target. The moment I started making real money, I should have been more careful about who had access to it and who knew about it. Wealth requires protection. Legal protection, financial protection, and emotional protection. Third, I learned that some people view relationships as transactions. Lisa saw our marriage as a business arrangement where she provided companionship, and I provided financial security. She found a better deal with Derek. She was ready to cash out and move on. Understanding this mindset would help me recognize it in the future. But perhaps most importantly, I learned that I had been settling for far less than I deserved. I had been so grateful that someone like Lisa would be with someone like me that I never stopped to ask whether she was actually good enough for me. I had focused so much on winning her approval that I never evaluated whether she met my standards. "You know what's funny?" I told Sarah as we prepared our counterattack. "I spent 6 years trying to make Lisa happy, and I never once asked myself if she was making me happy." The answer was obvious. She hadn't. Our relationship had been one-sided from the beginning. I gave, she took. I worked, she spent. I built, she planned to destroy. A real partnership would have meant working together toward common goals. It would have meant supporting each other through challenges. It It would have meant building something together, not one person building while the other person plotted to steal. The experience also taught me about the difference between being alone and being lonely. I had been lonelier in my marriage to Lisa than I was now, facing divorce. At least now I knew where I stood. At least now I wasn't living a lie. The good news, Sarah said, is that you're still young, you're about to be very wealthy, and now you know what to look for in a real partner. She was right. This betrayal, as painful as it was, had given me clarity about what I actually wanted in a relationship. I wanted someone who would love me whether I was worth $8 million or $8. I wanted someone who was building their own life, not trying to steal mine. I wanted someone who saw me as a partner, not a target. Most importantly, I wanted someone who would choose me every day, not someone who was just waiting for a better offer to come along. The war with Lisa and Derek was far from over, but I was already winning the most important battle, the one for my own self-respect. 2 years later, I'm sitting in my new office overlooking Lake Travis, watching the sunset paint the water gold. The view from here is spectacular, but it's nothing compared to the view I have of my life now. The legal battle with Lisa lasted 8 months. Sarah Martinez wasn't kidding when she said we were going to destroy them. When we presented our evidence, the recordings, the photographs, the financial records showing Derek's pattern of targeting wealthy women, Lisa's lawyer advised her to take whatever settlement we offered. The trust restructuring held up perfectly in court. Since the Harrison Family Trust had been established before my marriage, and the company had always legally belonged to the trust, Lisa had no claim to the sale proceeds. She walked away with exactly what she'd brought into the marriage. Nothing. But the real justice came when the district attorney decided to pursue fraud charges. Conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted extortion, and alienation of affection. Derek got 3 years in prison, and Lisa got 2 years plus restitution. Turns out, planning to steal $4 million while discussing it on a recorded phone call isn't the smartest criminal strategy. Derek's other victims came forward during the trial. We discovered he'd been running this con for over a decade, targeting successful women in unhappy marriages, seducing them, and helping them divorce their husbands for financial gain. Lisa wasn't his first victim, but thanks to our evidence, she was his last. The media attention was intense, but ultimately worked in my favor. The story of the tech entrepreneur who outsmarted his cheating wife and her con artist boyfriend became a cautionary tale about prenups and a feel-good story about justice prevailing. My new company's cybersecurity services saw a 300% increase in business from executives who suddenly realized they needed better protection, digital and legal. Lisa tried to sell her story to tabloids and write a tell-all book, but her criminal conviction made her an unreliable narrator. Last I heard, she was working at a call center in Dallas, still trying to convince people she was the victim in all this. But the real victory wasn't financial or legal, it was personal. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I met Emma at a cybersecurity conference in San Francisco. She was presenting on blockchain security protocols, and her presentation was brilliant. When I approached her afterward to discuss her research, she had no idea who I was or how much money I had. She was just excited to talk to someone who understood her work. Emma is everything Lisa pretended to be. She's genuinely intelligent, truly independent, and actually interested in building something meaningful with her life. She has her own successful consulting firm, her own goals, and her own money. When I told her about my past, she said, "I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad it taught you what real partnership looks like." We've been together for 18 months now, and every day I'm grateful for the contrast. Where Lisa took, Emma gives. Where Lisa lied, Emma tells the truth. Where Lisa saw me as a target, Emma sees me as a partner. Last month, I asked Emma to marry me. This time, I did it right. We both signed a comprehensive prenup that protects what we each built before our relationship, while sharing what we build together. But more importantly, I know Emma would sign it whether I was worth $8 million or $8, because she's not with me for my money. The experience with Lisa taught me that the best revenge isn't destroying someone who wronged you. It's building a life so good that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. Every morning I wake up next to someone who chose me for the right reasons, I win again. I've also learned to trust my instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. When someone's actions don't match their words, believe the actions. When someone seems too good to be true, they probably are. But most importantly, I learned that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who's planning to betray you. The loneliness I felt in my marriage to Lisa was soul-crushing because it came with the illusion of companionship. Real solitude, by contrast, is honest and temporary. To anyone listening who might be in a similar situation, if your gut is telling you something's wrong, listen to it. If your partner's behavior doesn't add up, investigate. If someone married you for your money, they'll divorce you for it too. And if you're going through something like this right now, remember, they might take your money, but they can't take your ability to earn more. They might break your heart, but they can't break your spirit unless you let them. Lisa wanted half of everything I owned, but she ended up with nothing. Meanwhile, I gained something invaluable: the knowledge of what real love actually looks like. Sometimes, the best thing that can happen to you is having the wrong person leave your life to make room for the right one. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below.